Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of our .NET MVC course series. In the last video we have seen how the routing works and we have successfully run our first .NET Core web application. In this video we'll explore more about routing concept and we'll create our own controller views and we will see in practical how all of this working together. So let's discuss about the traditional routing. Traditional routing works folder-based or file-based routing basically. So if you have ever worked with any other projects, you will see the routing HTML or CSS projects, the routing used to be the path-based, like absolute path-based routing. So if you had this kind of a structure, you would get like views, home, then the index.file. So if I had many other projects or many other folders, the structures would have been file-based. So the routing would have been file-based. But the .NET Core routing is different from the traditional file-based routing. We have already seen in our last video that there was some controller, the action and all. So we in details will see how they're working in this video. In the .NET Core routing, first of all, we take the URL. So that's where our project is running. So listening on this URL. Now for viewing any page or any view, the routing first maps with the controller. So this is controller. So first it will map with the controller name. Then it will map with the specific action inside the controller. So this is the action inside the controller. So we have discussed about controller action and all. We'll see in details as well in this video. So the action inside the controller and the controller name. So let's see this home controller over here. So this is the action actually, and this is the controller name. You can see there is something called home controller, but we used only the home, not the controller itself. So we didn't write it like that. So in .NET Core applications, when we are building any controller, we must have to use this suffix, the controller suffix with the class name. As you can see, the home controller.cs file. So only the home is the name we will use inside this URL. Let's create our own controller. These were all by default with the project. So now let's get started with coding and we'll create our own controller and we will also map a view with it and we'll see how it works together. So I'll create a new controller. Let's name it student controller. So this suffix controller, this is important. This suffix is must. We have to use this suffix. And our student controller class will inherit the controller class from Microsoft ASP.NET Core application. Now that we have our controller class ready, we can start creating our methods and map the views with it. So create an action or a method inside the controller. We have to use the public keyword, then iAction result, and the name of the action. So this can be anything. In our case, we will be using index. And remember, the action will return a view. So this is our simple controller and the action. So if we want to see the view related or map with this action, what will be our typical URL? So this is our base URL. With that, we will use the controller name, the student, and the action name. If we hit this URL, it will return to a view, but we haven't written our view yet. So in the views folder, we'll create another folder with the exact name of the controller. So don't worry about this suffix. We'll consider the name of the controller as student. So this is a suffix which is a must use to create a controller. So in the views folder, we'll create a student folder named exactly same with the controller. And inside the student folder, we'll create our view or the razor file, which will display the user interface, which will contain the code for the user interface. So this will be mapped with this action name. This view will be mapped with this action name. So here we can write index.cshtml. Now that our view is already created and it is mapped with this index action, we can write a free code over here. Let's say student. So if we go and hit this URL over here, student slash index. Okay, I think I have to run the project again because I have changed the code. So it's listening on 5297, and see, you can see the student view, and we can add more things if you want. This was just to show you how they are working, and we have created our own controller and we map our action with a view. So there's a quick check. Let's say I name it indexes. So you can see it shows that no web page found, HTTP error 404. Remember we talked about how the routing engine works before. So first it sends a request to the server, then the routing engine finds the controller, then the controller factory executes the controller, and then the action invoker decides the action by method in the controller. So when, in this case, when we put invalid URL like student indexes, so when we put this invalid URL, the action invoker was not able to find this action. So this action was invalid. We had only one action named index, and when this was an invalid action, we got this 4040. The web page was not found. So if a controller name is false or method provided doesn't exist, 404 not found will be, we will encounter 404 not found. So the same case, if we see, if I name it wrong, the students, the controller name, it will give me the same result. So I can change it, not so. A quick check, the URL over here doesn't matter, it is in lowercase, uppercase, or mixed. It will work as long as the name matches with the controller and the action name. So I can still put here like that, student index, it will still work. So that doesn't matter. This was all in this video. Okay, before we end, I want to discuss a bit more. Is that the controller, we have to keep this, if we wanna use this as action, which will be mapped with the view, we'll have to always use this IAction result, and the action should always be public. So IAction result we have to always use, the action should be always public, and we have to always use this controller suffix. We always have to use this controller suffix to create a controller. So this was all in this video. In the next video, we'll discuss about the views folder mode, the views files, and the .cshtml. Thanks for watching.